So this is we're going to talk about the NFAC. So this just happened on Saturday. So the NFAC stands for the Not Effing Around Committee. And the leader of that group, whose name is Grandmaster J, says the group is demanding the Attorney General Cameron, this is in Louisville in Kentucky, finish Breonna Taylor investigation in 4 weeks. And so the leader of a black militia group says when Attorney General Daniel Cameron told him it would be 4 months before his investigation into the Breonna Taylor case would be completed, he had one response. I told him, you ain't got 4 months. The comments came from Grandmaster J, leader of the NFAC, the Not Effing Around Coalition. Sorry, I said committee before, the coalition, to about 350 armed militia members in downtown Louisville Saturday. Standing on the steps of Metro Hall, Grandmaster J said he told Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher, he was told Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher only gave the full case to Cameron last week. And that Cameron told him in a phone call that the case file was sorely lacking in documents. There was no crime scene, Grandmaster J told the group. There was no report. There was no ballistics. There was no blood and toxicology, matter of fact. There was nothing. So when they gave it to the Attorney General and he said, where's the case? The mayor said, I gave you enough. Do your job. He asked Cameron on the phone if he would arrest the officers, and he says Cameron responded with, I'm going to do what I need to do. In response, the militia leader told the group that he issued an ultimatum to Cameron telling him he had 4 weeks to finish the investigation. He also promised that the NFAC would return to Louisville. 4 weeks from today, we're going to come back here and we should have an answer, he said. He then got the group to look at their watches and repeat an oath that if in 4 weeks they didn't get the truth, the whole truth, and the mother effing truth, we're going to burn this mother effer down. So if you want to see what 350 armed people look like, a militia of people, all you have to do is look at this.
Oh, wait, you go here, Louisville. That's right.
I want all my gang niggas. I want all the gang niggas. Any nigga that's gang.
And there you have it. That's just one video. There's another video right here. We're not going to watch this one. This is just another angle. Might be in a separate location, but I think it's outside of the courthouse.
This is I mean, this is a result of this is the result of people being like, police are doing nothing.
Yeah.
There's already like, they broke every, I hate how they call these things investigations. It's just like, you're not investigating much. Like, these people broke into these people's house. You know the boyfriend they arrested the boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know that the lady's dead.
The woman's dead, and I'm pretty. She was in bed. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Dead when she was killed.
Yeah. And like, this is the consequence of what's like, because nobody is helping it. Nobody's helping.
Right.
Nobody's doing anything.
And this happened before George Floyd, and they just wrapped up the initial part of the investigation. What did you think was going to happen? And these are the injustices that people are upset about. And after one of the best things that I said was like, they tried to petition Congress. They tried to vote. They tried to do all sorts of legal maneuvers to get what they needed, to get things changed so that things would be better in society. And none of those things have worked. And that's because our Congress is completely bought. Our judges are completely, I'm sorry to say it, but they all favor corporate interests. And we're seeing that. What
What do you think of this?
It's their Second Amendment right to practice this. And there's not on top of this, there was a militia, another militia, not black, on the other side of them, all dressed in, most of them dressed in army gear, camo. And I don't have an image on me right now, but who were there to serve as security to protect the peace. I was like, no, you're not. You're there in case shit goes down so you can start shooting people.
But like we rely on the system for stuff like this not to happen.
Yeah.
So like,
but that's why the Second Amendment is there.
Yeah.
Is so that this is the recourse, right? Why else is the Second Amendment there?
So far right now, a lethal shot has not been fired, from what I understand.
Yeah, but there was,
except for recently the Austin.
Yeah, right. So just to add to what you're saying, there was a person who accidentally discharged their weapon and ended up hitting 3 people, and it was because he had passed out.
Oh, this place.
At this place, right?
But it wasn't lethal.
It wasn't lethal. It didn't kill. It just injured 3 people who were taken to the hospital. But they don't have, luckily they don't have life-threatening injuries. That is a consequence of so many armed people on a hot sunny day in Louisville, Kentucky. Is you can have something like this. Something like this.
Of guns.
Sorry?
That's a consequence of guns.
I know.
Many guns, of having tons and tons of guns, and one of them going off and shooting people.
Yeah, I don't condone violence at all. I'm observing this, and I want to be clear that I'm just observing this, and I'm saying I empathize and I understand with, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, that they're just tired of whatever they're taking, and they feel like they're being infringed on their constitutional rights by the government. They're not doing their job as the government to investigate a situation where a woman was murdered in her bed for no reason. She wasn't doing anything.
I'm just wondering, like, what do you do after 4 weeks and then nothing happens? I guess like you cannot,
2 months.
But you cannot shoot. You cannot, like, none of those people can shoot anybody. So
right.
I think, what do we do?
I don't know.
The only thing that, like, Portland is basically what you do. I don't know what else you can do.
I don't know. Well, in Portland, there's no open carry, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's illegal to actually open carry in Portland. Yeah. So those people are law-abiding citizens. But here, you can open carry. So these are also law-abiding citizens. So it just depends on the state and it's illegal. So anyway, we're gonna move on. I want to play this video because you're gonna hear him say it. And now I wasn't able to find the moment where he says the exact quote that I said before. This is what he says is slightly different here.
That they not doing nothing, but what they needed to understand, and I told them, perception is our reality. So whatever y'all show us, that's what we believe. So if you don't tell us nothing, we gonna think you ain't doing nothing. But if you is doing something, tell us what the fuck it is. And if it's some shit that we can handle, we might step back and give you a chance to do what the fuck you said you was gonna do. But if you don't, we'll burn this bitch to the ground.
It's just going to continue to escalate. I mean,
it's just like it's a question of people doing their jobs.
Right.
and they don't want to do it. And this is like a matter of, it's a matter, I mean, the person died. It's a matter of life and death. It's not just her, it's like all the other people who died, all the other people who are incarcerated, all the other people who like, it's like the Latin kid today who just wasn't riding with a bike helmet and then 2 cops
Right.
ambush him.
Right.
It's like,
It's
what is this? This is nothing, it doesn't resemble justice at all. I mean,
I just don't know what else they can do. If they don't respond to nonviolent means, to nonviolent demands, then you're
like,
what all you're
So-
you're doing then is if you don't take it a step further after that, then you're just letting the state step on you.
so like, this is supposed to be, so the system's supposed to be a setup where this doesn't happen. We have
Right.
the people vote in people who don't hold these values. You have the people vote in people who don't, like, but then like you have gerrymandering. Then you have like you know, poor information even, or no information. I mean, you have all this stuff. So like then we come out with something like this.
Yeah, and you have straight propaganda. You have the covering up of these stories. You have the politicization of these stories.
Because we saw this, so this scene in front of the courthouse, we saw
Yeah.
this with Michigan and COVID, where people are like, I don't want to wear the mask. We have to reopen places.
In Michigan, yeah.
Michigan. This
Right.
is like, okay, like
See, that's the thing, is if you're in support of that and you don't support this, then there's something wrong with you.
Mm.
You're either for it or you're against it. Look, personally, my personal opinion is that I think assault rifles are a bit too much. But if they're legal, then there's no reason for you not to get one, because that means other people around you are getting them. And
I also
that's the
I
thing.
know,
Unless they're illegal, that's the only way you're going to get them off the streets. But then you still have a lot of people who say like, oh, well, people are just going to go make them in their backyard. And it's like,
okay.
like let them make it in their backyard. That's also illegal now. That would also be illegal. So you're still dramatically reducing the instances of violence. We're never going to be able to predict a maniac doing something in their backyard. They could be doing anything in there. I saw a video of a kid making a laser in his garage, and he fired it at some paper and lit the paper on fire. I'm sure he's being contacted by the military as we speak. But I'm just saying, like, people are gonna do what they do. But if they need a reason to be violent, then we need to understand what that reason is, and we need to understand the process by which that made them violent. And so these people are showing up at this courthouse for the same reason that you said. It's like the government is supposed to be doing things to prevent things like this from happening. It's to keep the peace, but they're not doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
So to me, the government's turned the corner. I think we have a fascist government. I think most of our Congress is bought out. They don't vote in the interest of the people. A Stanford study already proved that.
So
And our president, it just happens to be the person that this country elected to be the fascist that leads us. So it's
interesting. I was watching a Noam Chomsky interview recently. Most of the interview was just Noam Chomsky saying, "There's never been anything like this. There's never been anything like this." With the exception of, what's it called? With the exception of, like some small country dictator just sending out troops, because he says this isn't exactly fascism, because with fascism you have a group of people who have like it's like an organized group of people who those people know how to control society. But with this, what we have is a lot of corporations and a lot of like who have basically politicians in federal courts more bought out. So
Right.
it's kind of and what Trump has done with the deploying the military and flat out, like, I mean, he deployed the military. His theory is he deployed the military to, one way to win, because
Right.
he couldn't win over the virus, so he won another way to win.
He wants to be the law and order president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it just, the only thing that's like it is like this, like small country dictator.
Yeah, I'm sure Noam Chomsky used the most obscure reference possible and was able to talk about it with perfect detail.
But yeah. But it was a lot of like, this is like just ridiculous.
Well, what do they call it for that small country? I mean,
I forget. I think he called it a Pol Pot dictatorship, but I don't think it's actually Pol Pot. I didn't. That part I didn't.
It's not quite Pol Pot. I mean,
Yeah.
that was pretty. What happened with Pol Pot was pretty dramatic. Like, Pol Pot was murdering artists and like all sorts of people. Like he had his people going out and actually murdering a lot of people.
So I didn't quite get what kind of he had described, like the dictatorship is just like basically just sending out federal troops to quell civilians.
Well, that part I agree with, but like we don't know what the future holds for our society, and so we may see more instances of this. There's a great documentary about Pol Pot, by the way. It's about the not about Pol Pot, but about Cambodia and everything that was happening in Cambodia at the time. And I think it's something about the rock and roll scene in Cambodia around the time that Pol Pot came into power, and how Cambodia was like was going through this sort of like renaissance of music and like culture and artists, and it was really cool. There's a lot of guitarists and like these really cool bands, like just like grunge band or like bands, that rock and roll bands you would see in like a garage here in the United States, for example. There's a lot of that going on in Cambodia at that time, and then Pol Pot came in and just his federal army, or whatever you want to call them, came in and just started wiping people out left and right. So fantastic doc. I know it's totally beside the point here, but it's defeats the purpose and is beside the point. So it's any number of idioms you could attribute to what I just told you, but I would strongly recommend this documentary. I'll try to grab the name of it for you.